Hey everyone! Gosh, it's been a minute, but we're back. And by we, I mean I. So in today's video, we are going to talk all about the Eternals. Spoilers ahead if you haven't seen the film. In 2019, at the D23 Expo, Kevin Feige brought on stage this amazing cast of Gemma Chan, Lauren Ridloff, Salma Hayek, Kit Harington, and Angelina Jolie, just to name a few, and told us then that these were going to be our Eternals. Fast forward 2021, and it was one of my most anticipated film of the year. The other one was Dune. And now sitting here, having seen this film 3 times, I can honestly say, wow, this was an ambitious film, a very fantastic and great film, which focus on story and character over set pieces, essentially. And I am absolutely here for it. This film was amazing. It's got me thinking a lot. Marvel Phase 4 has been an interesting ride so far. Between the TV shows and the films, they all seem to be focusing on difficult questions that we as the audience are wrestling with, and it's challenging us to find those answers and realizing that we may not all get to the same conclusion, but that's okay. And I feel as though this film is another great example of that. And I know this is a very divisive film. It's got a 40 something on Rotten Tomatoes on the critics side, and it's 80 I think it's like 80% on the audience score. Let's tackle that right away. If you ever watch a film, and if you're ever interested in a film, the critics and everybody else, those are opinions. It's best to go in there, watch it yourself, and then form your own opinion. Because if you listen to what the critics say, you might miss on something special, which is what this film is. So as we go into this, me personally, I knew who the Eternals were, just in terms of their comic book history. I grew up reading a lot of Jack Kirby, so I wasn't unaware of who they were, and so this movie was pretty easy going in. But I do get it that there's some comic book purists who find this film, dare I say, sacrilege, because it doesn't focus. It's not exactly what Kirby wrote, and to them I would say I agree, but let's look at where the Eternals stand in the comic book world. In the comic book universe, the Eternals, when they were created, outside of explaining how the Celestials did experiments on Earth, which is why in the Marvel's universe, human beings are able to get superpowers because the Eternals played with their genes. As a superhero team, the Eternals didn't make a whole lot of sense because you didn't really need another team to protect the Earth because there were so many of them out there that could do what the Eternals could in more ways than one. So it didn't really make sense in the comics, didn't really fit. Also, we don't know what their purpose was because Jack Kirby technically never finished that universe. But as we come to the Marvel Cinematic Universe, it makes more sense, especially after what happened in Endgame, and the realization that a lot of the superheroes have that there's something more out there. The Eternals feel as a strong bridge to Marvel Cosmic. Now, I know you might be saying, well, Guardians of the Galaxy did that too. Yeah, well, Guardians is playing in that field, but it's a little too jokey, in my opinion. It doesn't approach it with the severity and the weight that Marvel Cosmic is, but Eternal seems to have that. So this is a serious approach to that, and I'm all here for it. So as I talked about it, Chloe Zhao, I mean, she's known for her visuals, and here they're just unbelievable. I mean, this woman knows how to shoot and use natural light effectively. So the visual are top-notch. Special effects are good. I mean, there are things that you can kind of tell, well, they could have worked a little bit on that. But overall, it's been really good. The score, wow. They got Ramin Djawadi of Game of Thrones fan, of Iron Man 1 fan, to come back and score this film. And he does an amazing job. The Eternals theme has this grandiose, epic feel to it, which, ooh, it's great. Okay, so, with just those things out of the way, let's pretty much dive into the film. Now, it's not perfect. No movie ever is. This movie has a couple of issues. I would say maybe 2. The first is the pacing. The pacing is it's a little bit uneven at times, so it does make watching the film a little challenging. Secondly, the story. I feel as though the story has numerous elements at work, so it's not as focused as it could be. So that's essentially the problem. But with that out of the way, let's talk about the good stuff here. So I said story and character. So the overall story is it's very simple, but it's done on such an epic scale that it has this moment of that forces you to pause and think about it. Ultimately, what does it mean to be human? It is one of the biggest questions that the films ask. And the only way you can answer that question is depending how close you are to humanity. You have the Eternals be divided in these groups that the closer they are to humanity, the more they're likely to fight to save it. In some cases, they do find new life in humanity. They also find out that there are things that they actually wanted. Liam McHugh's character, Sprite, says in the third act that she learned things that she never knew she wanted. To grow up, to be in love, to have a family, and questioning why she was made this way. Why she was made this way, because Sprite's essentially a child. But why she was made this way, having lived so many years, it's just, she can't experience this human feeling. And this is also like a great segue into all the characters as well. So you had Sprite, who is dealing with that. You had Fastos, who is essentially the god Hephaestus. That's where the myth comes from, is in this. Who wanted to help humanity advance, but all of his goodwill eventually hits 1945 Japan, Hiroshima, where he realizes, what have I done? In the same way that Oppenheimer felt when he created the atomic bomb, that sense of regret that I gave humanity the means to in some ways to advance, and here's what they're doing with it. And he says they're not worth saving. And his character is interesting because he has this moment like, they're not worth saving, they're just not worth saving. And there are numerous atrocities that humanity has seen, that we've all witnessed, that has really brought that home. And yet, he's the one that, in the third act, we learn he has a relationship with this guy named Ben, and they have this son together. And he says, I got lucky, I found something. And again, this is another person that got close to humanity, got hurt, but then found new life through it. Then we go into Gemma Chan, Cersei. Well, Cersei is interesting because she's always loved mankind. Since the beginning, there was this. She never looked at it as a job. She, at first maybe, but then she bonded with humanity earlier on. That she just finds herself in this relationship with Dane Whitman. Dane Whitman, kids. The Black Knight himself is in this movie. Played by Kit Harington. Oh my gosh, it's man, that's deep cuts right there. That is, actually I was talking to a buddy of mine. Him and I have had these conversations before. We sat down once, and when Guardians of the Galaxy was coming out, I was the first saying, this movie's not gonna make any money, and he's like, no, it will. And the reason I'd say that is because when you get into Guardians of the Galaxy, from what I knew at the time was, this is comic level craziness, and I think it's gonna lose the audience. But he was right, and every time we meet, he's like, told you. He agrees that where we're going now with the Black Knight, I mean, this is stuff that we barely know. I mean, him and I know, but whew, this is a brand new world. So Kit Harington is in there, and he has this relationship with Cersei. His character is not in there the whole time, which is a little bit of a downer. I mean, I kind of wish he was there a little bit more, but But his performance is good, and again, Cersei's relationship with him is one of the. I don't think it's one of the focal points that leads her to do what she needs to do, that leads her to act, but it is, again, it speaks to her character and her love for humanity, that she doesn't want humanity to die because of their job. Then we have, Then we have Kingo, played by Camille Nanjiani. Sorry if I'm butchering that name. And his character, he's also of the same. Well, these are okay. So here we have the characters that are distant from mankind. And so we kind of see a little bit of that. No, actually, before we get into him, we need to talk about Druid. Druid's character, I forgot the actor. Druid's a character also who loves humanity, who in the beginning wants to control them because he doesn't want them to get hurt or do anything bad. But again, he's told by Ajak, Salma Hayek's character, that you cannot interfere with their evolution. They need to go through these things. But he hits a point where he realizes that he doesn't want to see this anymore. It doesn't make sense for him to do this, to watch. And so he controls a good population. I think this is more in Tenochtitlan. Oh, man. I forgot. I'm butchering it, I'm sure of it. But so Druid has this sense of, I don't want humanity to destroy itself. But he again comes around later down in the film, realizing that if I do that, they won't be human. I can't control them. And I think his approach is interesting as well. I think it's akin to what God would do, which is, there are times that we look at God and go, I wish you would do something. And then sometimes, maybe, I'm not saying I can speak for the big man, but there are moments where you kind of think, sure, he could, but would we be human at that point, or just puppets? So that's Druid's character. So now we move to the other side, where we have the other characters who are a little bit, who have a bit of an offhand approach to humanity. Starting with Richard Madden's Icarus. Icarus is the company man. He's there to do the job, doesn't really care about what humanity is, because he even has a line. He's like, I'm an eternal, Fastos. They have this confrontation in the third act when the truth of what Icarus's betrayal is revealed, and they're having this conversation. He goes, I'm an eternal, Fastos. I'm loyal to Arishem. And so are you. And he's really letting everybody know in the company, like, this is your job. This is what we were sent to do. And also trying to put in the argument that, if millions of people die, billions more will come to exist. That's worth it. We're doing a good thing in the natural order of things. Human beings are so small in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't really matter, because we're looking at things big picture. Is essentially Icarus. He's throwing the company lie. And then you have Kingo, who is a bit of a mixed bag. He doesn't really care so much about humanity, as opposed to just, he understands. He has empathy, understands that there are people in connection that he's made, being a celebrity and a movie star. But he also goes, yeah, you know what, it sucks, but I'm not really going to change my perspective on this one. But when Icarus's betrayal, he does confront him about that, and I do get the sense that they're never going to, maybe, I don't know, I can't speak for how the film is going to go, but he does say, I don't want to hurt any of you for my beliefs. And that line is so strong because it again jumps back to one of the concepts of the film. I don't want to hurt any of you for my beliefs. And I think that's such an interesting line because you can relate to that. We all believe different things, but how many of us actually get to that space to go, I don't want to hurt any of you for my beliefs? It's such a refreshing and neutral approach to the concept of what you believe in and how you can execute or how you can view the world through that lens. So that's where those characters are in. You have the leader, Ajak, who, again, we come to find out, again, in this whole exposition section, that she's done this before. She's gone to millions of worlds, allowed the emergence. The emergence is essentially, so on the worlds that the Eternals go to, it's because there's a celestial seed that's been implanted onto the planet. The Eternals are supposed to just grow the human population, which feeds the Eternal. And when comes the emergence, the Eternal emerges out of the planet, killing everyone. And so they're supposed to shepherd human. In this case, they're shepherding humans' evolution, and the deviants are also part of this mix. And we'll talk about them in a little bit. But you have Ajax, who is the leader, the Prime Eternal, who in the beginning, again, this is a job for her, but again, she got close to humanity and now has these emotional connection that makes her go, this planet is special, because Thanos wiped half of the life in the universe, and it's the people on this planet that fixed it. So there's this sense of there's something here. So those are those characters, and then we'll come to the three that are very interesting. So that we have Gilgamesh, played by Don Lee, and Thena, played by Angelina Jolie. Don Lee's Gilgamesh, oh man, it was such a wonderful performance. I wanted more. And when he dies, I was just, that sucked so bad when he died. I was just pissed off. And Thena, played by Angelina Jolie. This woman, outside of being just drop dead gorgeous in this film, she is such an actress. Like, what she does so much with the small amount of screen time she's given, but it's so powerful. And their relationship in the movie, I think it was platonic. They didn't really explain how it was set up, but she does so much to convey a lot of what's happening. It's just, there was great chemistry between those two actors and those two characters, and I just wanted a little bit more. So that's that. But their powers are fantastic. Their powers are just amazing, fantastic. And then we have, I saved the best for last, Lauren Ridloff's MAKKARI. Oh my gosh! Again, these are just, again, drop dead gorgeous, and just does so much with just the amount of time she's on screen. She is visually, the way they showcase her speed powers, it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. And to have her, one, as a woman of color, which to me was just like, wow. But also, I believe she's deaf, so she does, in reality, the actress herself is deaf. So having all the characters do sign language to communicate, and in a way that is seamless, as though they're not, it's not forced. I mean, there's even moments when Kingo makes jokes. When he goes, what was it? He goes like, "You mean that?" MAKKARI goes like, "You mean that everything I've been told is a lie?" He goes like, "Yes. Also, the world is ending." I thought, I was like, okay, Dan, that's good. And then, have you seen any of my movies? There was just that genuine. She was just flawless, and her chemistry with Druid. I think it's Barry Cogan's character. I'm sorry if I'm butchering it, but again, not a whole lot, but it was just good chemistry right there. I have two favorite scenes with her. One was when she lets out this scream when Druid gets laser-eyed by Icarus, and second is when she's literally beating the shit out of Icarus on the beach. It was, again, I just want more of this movie. To be honest, I'm the guy who would go, I honestly wish this movie was another hour. Which goes to show that I just wanted more of this. And so, so we have that. And the last characters are the Deviants. Now, there's not a whole lot done with the Deviant, but the Eternals and the Deviants come to realize what the roles are when the truth is revealed, right? So one of the Deviants kills Ajax because Icarus betrayed her and had her killed. And he starts understanding through Ajax's powers and memories what their purpose on this planet was, and this kind of brings it up to the big man of this film, Arishem the Judge. Arishem is, again, one of the things, and this goes back to Kirby. This is an experiment, unless Marvel tells us otherwise. But it's essentially shepherding humanity for them to grow, and you need. And one of the things about humanity is we need something to push against in order for us to become the best version of ourselves. That's just in general. We need something to push against to get that. And so Arishem created the Deviants and the Eternals, and he had them set to do their thing. The Eternals are supposed to threaten mankind, and the Eternals are supposed to protect it in order to force humanity to evolve. So when the Deviant understands that, and when you realize that your entire purpose is that, one, you're supposed to allow somebody else to live, but when the emergence comes, and even before that, that you're destined to make another species exist at the cost of your own benefit, which means you have to die. the Eternals are killing the Deviants. They're essentially brothers and sisters, if you want to say that. They're killing them. And so when this Deviant can now think for itself, sentience, it realizes it wants to fight back. Unfortunately, it doesn't really get enough time to do what it needs to, because this poor fool made the terrible mistake of killing Gilgamesh, which Athena had no problem reminding him of his place in the bigger picture when she literally cuts him to pieces. So again, this is one I would say this is another weak point to the film. Just give me more of these characters. So but yeah, I mean, I've gone into all the parts of the film, all the characters, and the grandiose aspect of the story. And in wrapping this up, I think another part that I love is the film plays with your expectation. I mean, when Icarus is revealed to be the traitor, not a traitor, yeah, technically that works. The hero of the movie is Circe. It's her film, and it's interesting that it's not the most powerful that is destined to lead the Eternals. It's the one that's not even the most powerful one. It's the one that just has a strong love for humanity, and that's who's chosen to kill the Titan, the Celestial Tiamat. And I think that's interesting. So, in wrapping up, Eternal was a really good time. I absolutely love this movie. I can't wait I'm probably going to see it again or wait for it on DVD. And I really hope that they make a sequel, because these are the kind of films that I respond to. They have this mythic scale, this scope. I'm all here for this. So I would say, if you're not new to this, one of the best lenses to use as you're watching this movie, I would say if you're religious, use Judeo-Christianity is probably a good way to look through that movie, because there's a lot of patterns in there that would make sense. Or Greek mythology as well. Greek mythology would essentially give you an understanding of who the characters are, so you can kind of see what their purposes are. So, but anyway, that's gonna do it for this review of Eternals. Let me know what you guys thought of the movie down in the comments below. And we'll see you guys next time. I think next time is Ghostbusters Afterlife. All right, have a good one.